A collapsible rod is great to have as a backup in an equipment emergency, but most of these things come with a handle that's way too long. Are you going to sit there and cast like this in a kayak? Well, I'm going to show you how to fix that this week on Kayak Hacks. Welcome back! If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Now, let's get on with it. This is a great little collapsible rod that Eau Claire Rods gave me to test out. They gave it to me for free, but they're not sponsoring this video, and I'm going to give it my fair and honest appraisal. And the first thing I told them was that the handle is way too long to work with on a kayak. It's going to get in the way of your PFD, you're going to be sitting down, and it's just going to be awkward to use. Now, they said that they're working on a shorter version of that, but if you've already have one of these and want to know how to turn it into a backup rod, here's how I did it with the generic Chinese version that I also had, and I wanted to test out before I ruined a good rod. There's two basic things you need to do. First, you need to get this to be the right length, and then you need to make sure it's balanced. Yep, you got it. Time for the hacksaw. But you can't just cut it off right here, which is where I want to do it. You need to make sure you pull the rod out, because this part of the rod is going to collapse down into the handle. And you don't want to cut off this part while you're shortening the handle. It's a pretty simple process. Just get the hacksaw, and I'm going to cut it right here. I pulled the handle out. And now a few slices later, I'll have a shortened rod. And as you can see, I had to be careful because one of the telescoping parts extends below that cut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bottom on here, and this will just extend the rod out just a couple inches. Not a big deal to get a rod that'll be perfect as a collapsible solution for a kayak. Now for the bottom, what I want to do is cut this off right here so I can slip this on. Okay, I cut off the bottom, and now what I need to do is fit it onto the bottom of the existing rod. And to do that, I'll need to grind out the inside here to create an opening that's wide enough. And to do that, I'll use my Dremel with a small sandpaper bit. So I'll just stick this in here and I'll grind it out until it fits the existing rod handle. I don't like the looks of the dust that comes out of this, so I wear a mask and my safety glasses when I'm doing this. Okay, you see I've got it where this will fit in there easily. Now what I'm going to do is I'll sand around the edges of where I cut this off to make sure that there's no sharp burrs, and then I'll hit this with some light sandpaper right there to kind of level it off a little bit. Then the final step will be to dump some epoxy in here and glue this together. But there's one more critical step to balance this out, so stay tuned for that. So the next step here is to balance this out. So you got to extend it all the way to make sure that the rod is as it would be when you use it. Stick your finger right there, and you can see that I need to add some weight here to the back. The little piece I took off is what I need to replace. So once I epoxy this on, I need to also epoxy some weight right here to the back to make sure that this thing levels out. So this is balanced pretty good, and what I did is I took an egg sinker and just taped it onto the back so I know that I'm getting the right amount of weight before I attach it permanently. So I'll go ahead and I'll flatten this egg sinker out with a hammer, and then I will epoxy it on right to the back of the butt of the rod. Here we are, it's the next day. This is the Eau Claire Nice Rod, and you can see that I've integrated the egg sinker here in the back. I've squished it in, I wrapped a little bit of water welt around it, sanded it a bit, and then painted it so it wouldn't look too bad. And as you can see, it balances pretty much. I like to have it cocked just a little bit back because that offsets a little bit for the weight of the lure on the other side. Now, this ended up being this much longer than it was before. Now you recall that there was a little bit of the extension that poked out the bottom, but that's still a nice small rod that'll fit in the holding compartment of my kayak. What do you think? I think this is going to work out great. It's just the right size to grab and cast. Comments? Do you have experience with collapsible rods on kayaks? What is the right size, do you think? Throw it in the comments below. Take care.